such as Craig Rochelle. I showed a video last week. He did a sermon series here a while back on faith, living faith in the storm, with the questions that God asked him. And last week we covered, do you believe I can do this? And he was talking about the story where he healed the two blind men that were following him through the crowd, calling out. Is that?
It's not open.
Hold on, let me get back down, Charlie.
Hold on. All right, now you're on.
Okay. Can we hear now? All right. Barely now? Okay. I'm sure everybody could hear me without it anyway. But
Anyway, he was talking about the blind men who followed him through the crowd, and they had the faith to call out to him. No matter if they knew what they were doing or not, they had faith to call out to him. And he covered three things, the three types of faith that God honors, and that is faith that believes even when he can't see. Okay, we know that by Hebrews 11:1. What faith truly is. Faith is something we just can't see, but we have to take that risk. A second one was faith that persists even when nothing changes. If we keep on and keep on and keep on, it's that faith that persists even when we don't see a change. And the two is the faith that works and that continues to work. So today we're going to go a little bit deeper, and I'm not a pastor. I don't claim to be a pastor. I'm not a theologian. I'm just a guy that's out here, and several sermons have touched me. And I'm going to share some points from each of those sermons today. So, because I think they're teachable moments. I think they taught me, and I also think that God's telling me that they need to be shared with you. So, as you saw in this video, God is decided that he thinks they need to go to the other side. There's somebody on the other side of the lake that needs to be healed. And he goes out to see. We're going to start in Mark chapter 4, verses 35, and cover this story a little bit. So if you brought your Bibles, turn to that page. If not, open up your iPad to whatever version of Bible you have on the iPad, or your phone, your whatever. But needless to say, we want the Word of God in front of us. That day, when the evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along just as he was in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat, so that it was nearly swamped. Jesus was in the stern sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said, "Teacher, don't you care that we will drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to the disciples, "Why are you so afraid? You still have no faith." They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this? Even the wind and waves obey him." Throughout the Gospels, there's over 150 different types of questions. Okay? The counselor, if you've ever been to counseling, you know that in order for the counselor to advise you, the counselor to seek to help you, he has to ask you questions. Okay? So, the best way to seek the real truth is with a good question. Just to give you a little bit of background here. I'm a meteorologist by trade. Even though I worked in computers, I was trained in meteorology for the Navy. And I actually got to see and go and be around the Sea of Galilee, which, if you've ever been there, you'll also find is called the Lake of Tiberias. It's quite small, but it's not real so small that it would be considered a tank or a pond, but it is considered a lake, or the Sea of Galilee is on the map. The Sea of Galilee is about 200 feet deep at its deepest level. And it is about 680 feet below sea level. it's surrounded by mountains on all sides. So if you have a wind, and if you've ever studied meteorology, you know that the leeward side of a mountain, where the wind comes down, can cause what is called squall lines, or storms, or severe winds. To give you an example, here in the United States, if you've ever studied it, which I didn't know until last night, Lake Erie is the same functionality. Lake Erie is built in the same location manner as the Sea of Galilee because it's surrounded by mountains on all sides. And they also call it the stormy, there's another nickname for it that I don't recall, I read it last night. But it has similar weather patterns because of the way the winds come down the mountains. So this storm that we see in this story could have happened on any day of the week. It could have happened just like in Oklahoma, where they say if you don't like the weather, stay around for 5 minutes and change. Because it can go from a peaceful, calm, sunshiny day to tornadic activity within a matter of minutes, just because of the way the winds and the way the weather patterns go around it. We also see that some people that in church, we see Christians the same way, have a hard time, or don't have a hard time, but they do a really good job at hiding their storm. You guys can come in here every day of the week, you smile on your face, and we never know what's going on throughout the week unless we talk to you. And you could be having the worst week of your life. You come into church and smile and leave church, and I wouldn't know that you were having any problems at all. I'm the same way. I try to hide that storm that I'm in. Some things to be mindful of that I want to come out of this question that I found was a teachable thought that I want to share with you from Pastor Rochelle's sermon is that in verse 37, he talks about Jesus was in the boat. He was already there. And some things that we need to be mindful of when we're facing the faith in a storm and looking at our faith in our storm is we are in the storm in His presence. God says, I am with you always. Psalm says, you are my refuge, my hiding place. Hebrews 13:5. Many more scripture can say that says and points out that God is with you at all times. The misconception of Christianity that we go through every day is that just because I'm a Christian, I don't have to face storms anymore. I hear this all the time, especially with new Christians. And they're finally starting to get some of their first tests in life as a Christian, and they're like, I didn't sign up for this. I thought when I became a Christian, it was going to be smooth sailing. You know, as we say in the Navy, you know, red skies at night, sailor delight, you know. And so I'm thinking, man, we're going straight into sailing into the sunset. It's going to be a beautiful night. And I can tell you, first and foremost, being a sailor, that ain't always the case. I've been in seas that were calm as could be, and gotten up the next morning and taking 10 and 20 degree rolls in a small ship where you're looking at the ground when it rolls parallel. I finally found out why they actually put seatbelts in the bunks on board a Navy ship, and that's because some days you take some seas that are pretty rough, and you're watching yourself as you're laying down in bed, staring at the ground. And that's how bad sometimes our oceans and our waves get in our lives. We start wondering, man, did I sign up for this and what? You know? I like this statement that I heard last night as I went back over the notes and stuff. Christianity is not a playground, it's a battleground. Okay? God didn't say we were coming to the playground to have playtime. God said you're fighting a battle that you have no idea who the enemy really is other than what's around you. God didn't promise that the storm wouldn't sink us. Or He promised that the storm wouldn't kill us. He just didn't say it wouldn't sink us. Okay? So from this, there's a question that I want you to ask yourself. Does having faith does having faith never mean being afraid. We can be afraid of anything. If you ask my daughters, they all know that I'm terrified of snakes. I hate snakes. Even the little bitty snakes. Because even the little bitty snakes, if you don't know what they are, can hurt you. But I don't like snakes. My daughter, Bailey, she doesn't like spiders. She's definitely afraid of spiders. My mom used to be so afraid of spiders that she'd see a tarantula on the road, and it doesn't matter what side of the road she's driving on, she's killing it. And sometimes she would go over to the other side of the road. But it took facing her fear and having to come out before she could realize that, yeah, I can be afraid of it, but I don't have to be afraid of it. Another thing is, don't let the presence of the storm cause you to doubt the presence of God in the storm. There's a reason that storm's going on. Okay? James 1, chapter 1, verses 2 through 5 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Alan will relate to this, and Crystal will relate to this, and Sandra will relate to this. In order to get to the next level in school, and Shelley and Blake are teachers as well. In order to get to the next level in school, you've got to do what? You've got to pass that test. You've got to pass through that group of trials. And our kids nowadays are going, but what? But what? Why do I have to learn algebra in high school? Why do I have to learn statistics in college? Why do I have to do this? I asked the same questions when it came to algebra and physics in high school, and it wasn't until I got into the Navy and started studying meteorology that I understood now why I had to learn physics. Because in order for me to do my job as a meteorologist, I have to know the physics to be able to equate what's going on in the upper atmosphere. Likewise, I had to know the same thing for oceanography because I also studied submarine warfare. And I'll come back to that. I'm going to keep coming back to that story as it relates to me from the Navy, because I want you guys to see that it's a teaching moment for me, but it can also be a teaching moment for you if you relate your stories of life back to what you see going on in your everyday life. Number 2, Craig Rochelle also said, in the storm is for his purpose. Just like those tests in high school and grade school and college and taking a certification exam for a special certificate to become a physical therapist or a doctor, they're for a purpose. Now, I can't say that God causes the storm or even allows the storm to happen, but He uses that storm for His purpose. Notice in the story, God decided to go to the other side. It was His decision to go to the other side. Did He know that that storm was coming? Did He know that there was going to be a squall on the lake that night or on the sea that night? Some believers would say yeah, he already knew it was coming. Some believers would say, I don't know. But we see that God uses that storm for a purpose with His disciples, that He's training at that moment. He takes every opportunity to make it into a teaching moment. With our kids, we try to raise them the way we see things going on. We try to use everyday moments to teach them how to handle their faith, how to handle their fear. One of the biggest things I try to, and I see in our kids today, especially mine, is how they react to everyday societal things. Because of social media, because of cell phones, because of all these different things that our kids have access to, They handle things a lot different. Even though the situations might be similar to what we grew up with, they handle things differently than what we grew up with when we didn't have we didn't have Facebook. And we didn't have, and I could go on and on and on and on when we were growing up. But we also had to learn to adapt, just like our kids have to learn to adapt. So what you have to do is take this scenario and turn it into a teaching moment. So we have to look back on that and say, okay, God, I'm having a test here. I don't know why, but I need to learn something from it. So what do I do? What do I do? Part 2 of this is, the two first points is, 1, you are in the storm, God is the boat with you. He's not going to leave you stranded. He's not going to leave you hanging. He's there in the boat with you. Number 2 is, in the storm, you're in the storm for His purpose. You're in the storm to learn something. Part 2 of this is, you were born for this. God created you, Tim Garner, for a reason. Sometimes we look in the mirror, brother, and I'm like, what in the world am I doing? Why do I have the job I have? What is it that you have for me? Why am I where I'm at now? For those of you who don't know, Tim and I talk quite a bit because both of us have daughters. And we relate to each other on a redneck kind of mentality level. But we both talk to each other and we try to bounce things off of each other when it comes to our daughters. His daughter's a little bit younger than mine. Just like I talked to Bill and I've talked to Vicki and I've talked to several others that have older daughters, just so that we can learn from that atmosphere. Going back to James 1, 2 through 5, remember, consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of any kind, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Also, verse 12 says, blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. Consider this. Back in the days when the Bible was written, you had men, women getting thrown into the lion's den. You had them getting thrown into the fiery furnaces for not bowing down. You had houses being burned. And we don't all face those kind of trials today as we know them today, but we get that phone call from the doctor that says, you need to come see me right away. Or you get that phone call from me, from my in-laws, that says, so-and-so has cancer. And they told me my dad had cancer. And I got to hear them. It affects you. But how does it affect you? Do you let it drown you? Do you just give up? Or do you say, okay, now what? For those of you who know, my dad is a cancer survivor. My wife is a cancer survivor. My mother-in-law is a cancer survivor who's still battling cancer. My grandfather passed away from cancer. My father-in-law passed away from cancer. My brother is a cop, who I constantly worry about because he works with ATF. He's been going in on raids, on drug raids and everything like that. And he watched 4 of his buddies get shot as they went in. But these are trials that we know we have no control over, but we know we have a job to do. So all we can do is reach in and say, okay, God, what are you doing for me? What are you trying to teach me out of this? Is it for me to gain strength as a man to support my family? One of the other trials that Mickey and I are talking about right now is, and we, as you guys have known over the past few months, is what's the trial? What are we trying to learn from Cross Point Church? What does God have in store for Cross Point Church? Are we in a storm? You were born for this. I was born for this. I don't know that I was born to be an elder. I don't know that I was born to be a pastor. I don't know that I was born to be a teacher. But I was born for something, and that was to serve God. We have to talk ourselves into doing things we normally would not do. A few years ago, I won't say a few years ago, because it was probably over 20 years ago, I got to go on a canoe trip on the Illinois River down and up in northern Oklahoma. Our youth group used to take this canoe trip every year, just as a vacation for the youth or a group trip for the youth. One year we went, they'd had some recent storms, and the water was up a little bit more than normal, and there was some pretty rapid areas. And I'm riding in a canoe with a very large man. We're talking very large, 300 plus pounds, very large guy, but he was real muscular, and me and him just happened to be teamed up to go down the river. When we come up on a spot in the river that became very rapid, and the water, there was a cliff, and the water was that far underneath the cliff. And we knew that we had to stay out from underneath that. Otherwise, it could become detrimental. Well, as we're paddling along, things didn't happen the way we wanted them to happen. Our canoe flipped. We went up underneath that cliff. We were towed with the current for a good long time underneath the boat. Luckily, if you've ever been in a boat with our canoe, you know that if it flips over, you can get there and get up to the side because it looks like a balloon. We hung on to the bottom of this canoe with our hands up inside trying to get air until we knew we were out of the area. And even when we were out of the dangerous area, we didn't know when we could flip back over and what we had lost or anything like that. But I freaked out. I can tell you honestly, I freaked out because I'd never been in that type of situation before. And I was ready to quit. I was ready just to let go and quit. But I had a choice to make. Do I quit and just die right then and there? Or do I continue on? My partner in the boat also was expecting me to do my part. Because he may have been thinking the same thing. Now you got two people in the same situation. Do we quit? Or do I let him handle the load, and not do my part and I just give up, or vice versa? So the question is you don't give up. You got to take inventory of your friends. You don't want to be in the, as the story I heard said, you don't want to be in the limo that breaks down with somebody that's just going to take off, or you want to be with that friend that's going to go to the cab and get a cab with you, or go to the bus stop, or help you get home. You know, we have to take inventory of what's around us. We have to take inventory of our family around us. So I'm going to give you 3 points to close up today on how to handle that storm that you're in. And I'm going to do that by reading Acts 27, starting in verse 21. A story of Paul. Again, this is the cool thing about this story, is it is about Paul being in a boat. And I want to start reading in verse 13. It says, when the gentle south wind sprang up, they thought they had achieved their purpose. They weighed anchor and sailed along the shore of Crete. But not long after, a fierce wind called the northeaster rushed down from the island. Since the ship was caught and was unable to head into the wind, we gave way to it and were driven along. After running under the shelter of a little island called Cauda, we were barely able to get control of the skiff. After hoisting it up, they used ropes and tackle and girded the ship. Then, fearing that they would run aground on the Syrtis, they lowered the drift anchor, and in this way they were driven along. Because we were being severely battered by the storm, they began to jettison the cargo the next day. On the third day, they threw the ship's gear overboard with their own hands. To the Message translation. Starting at verse 18 again. Next day out on the seas, again, and badly damaged now by the storm, we dumped the cargo overboard. The third day, the sailors lightened the ship further by throwing off the tackle and provisions. It had been days since we had seen either sun or stars. Wind waves were battering us unmercifully, and we lost all hope of rescue. With our appetite for both food and life long gone, Paul took his place in our midst and said, "Friends, you really should have listened to me back in Crete. We could have avoided all of this trouble and trial, but there's no need to dwell on that for now. From now on, things are looking up. I can assure you that there will not be a single drowning among us, although I can't say as much for the ship. The ship itself is doomed." Now, I want you to think about that. Paul is already throwing it back in your face, going, "You should have listened to me, but since you didn't, let's make the best of what we have." That's in my translation. It says something else. But he's also telling him, "Look, I know a guy that's going to help us through this, and I can guarantee you that there's not going to be any deaths in this scenario. The ship already, it is what it is. We have to make do with what we have. But take heed. I know a guy that's going to help us. Last night, God's angel stood at my side, an angel of this God I serve, saying to me, 'Don't give up, Paul. You're going to stand before Caesar yet, and everyone sailing with you is also going to make it.' So, dear friends, take heart. I believe God will do exactly what He told me. But we're going to shipwreck on some island or other." On the 14th night, adrift somewhere in the Adriatic Sea, at about midnight, the sailors sensed that we were approaching land, sounding. They measured a depth of 120 feet. Shortly after, 90 feet. Afraid that they were about to run aground, they threw out 4 anchors and prayed for daylight. Some of the sailors tried to jump ship. They let down the lifeboat, pretending that they were going to set out 4 anchors from the bow. Paul saw through their guys and told the centurion and his soldiers, "If these soldiers don't stay with the ship, we are all going to drown." So the soldiers cut the lines to the lifeboats and let it drift off. With dawn about to break, Paul called everyone together and proposed breakfast. This is the 14th day we've gone without food. None of us has felt like eating. But I urge you to eat somehow or something now. You'll need strength for the rescue ahead. You're going to come out of this without even a scratch. He broke the bread and gave thanks to God, passed it around, and they ate heartily. 276 of us all told. With the meal finished and everyone full, the ship was further lightened by dumping the grain overboard. At daybreak, no one recognized the land, but they did notice a bay with a nice beach. They decided to try to run the ship up on the beach. They cut the anchors, loosened the tiller, raised the sail, and ran before the wind toward the beach. But we didn't make it. Still far from shore, we hit a reef and the ship began to break up. The soldiers decided to kill the prisoners so no one could escape by swimming. But the centurion, determined to save Paul, stopped it. He gave the orders for anyone who could swim to dive in and go for it, and for the rest to grab a plank. Everyone made it to the shore safely. I like the fact that he said, for those who can't swim, grab a plank. I heard this joke to death before. The first evidences of surfboarding in the Bible. So, think about that. First of all, take heed and don't give up. So the first way of handling the storm when we are in it or whatever is to, you've got to see it coming to never end up running. A lot of times we act as Christians like, man, I had no idea. We act so surprised when our trials and tribulations come up on us. And I'll be the first and foremost to tell you that I do this often. I'm like, man, I didn't see that coming. But we're supposed to take heed, and we're supposed to know that we're going to have trials. James 1 tells us you're going to have trials and tests throughout your life. You know, we had a trial here a few years back in Bastrop County. You know, the question is, and something that I saw in that fire, just like 9/11, and just like other times in my life, when we see a major catastrophe, we all of a sudden see this great big surge of hope. What if when we know the worst of the worst is coming, the best of the best comes out and says, bring it on. Bring it on. We can handle this. I saw that during the fire here in Bastrop. You saw how a community raised up to support each other. The bad thing is another time that I saw it was 9/11. I was in El Centro, California with a dead of T-45 training jets, which are the F-18 training jets for the Navy. I had worked the night before until midnight, and they told me don't come in until 8. I said, okay, no problem. Well, I got up at 7 just because being in the military, if you've ever been in the military or been around a military family, you're used to getting up early. Your automatic clock wakes you up whenever it's time to get up. This morning I woke up at 5:30 for some reason. The sun was starting to peek through the window, and I didn't get back to sleep after that, but I just laid there. But you get into a mindset, you start doing this. But as I was waking up and getting ready to go get in the shower, I turned on the TV and I hear all this commotion. I'm like, man, what's going on? I'm thinking, well, I'm watching a movie. By that time, the first tower had already been hit. So I'm watching the news, just like everybody else. They're going, okay, the tower's been hit. Maybe this is by mistake. It's an accident. And then I see the second jet in the second tower. By this, I'm like, there's something strange going on. And I get a phone call on my cell phone, briefly, telling me we need to get back to the hangar. We've got things to start going over the top. By that time, I had lost all reception on my cell phone. I could not get a cell phone call out. As you know, cell phone reception went away unless you had certain carriers. Luckily, my manager had cell phone reception enough for each one of us to call home and start checking for their phones. But as I got to the hangar, I'm like, what's going on, guys? I mean, I don't understand. I had already heard that two jets hit the Twin Towers, but we were flabbergasted. And at that point, we found out that all jets, including ours, were grounded. You're not going anywhere. So we're all standing around going, okay, what do we do? We're in a place now. We don't want to fly home, but we know we can get home to our families. You know, I finally got to talk to Sherry. She went and picked the kids up from daycare. It's a scary situation. But what happened after 9/11 as a country? What did you see during 9/11, just after 9/11 as a country? We saw more Christians stand up and take toe, and take faith, and take that strength that God gave us to help the communities, the families, and those who were lost get through, right? So one of the things is, how do you see it coming? I heard this announced the other day. Take the first 15 of your day. I know it's kind of hard for you guys who aren't morning people or haven't had your coffee yet in the morning, but take the first 15. First 5 minutes, wake up, turn on Kayla Radio or The River or something and start listening to praise and worship. I listen to Air One radio until I get to Garfield. at that point, I lose my signal and I have to switch over to either Caleb or Garth or the river out of Boston to listen to Christian music. What's cool is I was sitting there thinking about this earlier. I know that 92.1 doesn't come in. I can go to 97.5 because that's Caleb. 97.5 may work, and then I can switch over to 105.3, and that's the river. Well, if I'm back in the neighborhood, I can listen to 97.7. That's Air 1. And if I can't get to any of it, and I'm on my computer, I can go on the iHeartRadio and dial in all of it. Or if I'm in Oklahoma, as soon as I get up to Oklahoma City, I can flip over and start listening to House FM out of Palm City. Because I know all of them are playing the same type of music that I can get them in. So, first 5, listen to, get your praise on. Second 5, read your Bible. Oh, Bill, what do I read? Well, if you're new to it, break out the Proverbs. What day of the week is it? There's Proverbs to go with it. That's the best place to start teaching yourself daily devotionals is in the book of Proverbs. Read the Psalms. Have a daily devotional. There's 100 of them out there. And I'll see you more than 100 of them out there. I get 3 delivered to my email every morning from 3 different groups. Read your Bible. The last 5 is thank God for what you have. Be thankful. You know, I thank God each morning when I wake up and say, hello, God, thank you for giving me another day of break. Could be worse. I could be still staring at root balls today. Okay? It's just that plain and simple. So we got to see it coming so that we can see it through. Which is number 2. See it through because you don't know what God has in store for you. You know? The reason I brought up 9/11 in Bastrop County is, did we see it through? Kind of. But have we seen it through to the end? No, we don't really know. Here's the key factor that I brought up last week after the video. If you didn't have a chance to watch the video, I posted it on our Facebook site. Challenge you to go watch that video. Okay? Awesome video. It talks about, do you believe I can do this? Do we believe God can do something great in Cross Point Church? Do we believe God can do something great in Bastrop County? Better yet, do you believe God can do something great in your life and your family right there next to you? Here's the key factor. Sometimes the storm you're in is not even about you. You just happen to be there. And if you decide to quit, going back to my canoe trip, if you decide to quit, you're robbing that person who the storm is meant for of getting full blessing. You're taking that opportunity for them to learn exactly what it is God wants them to see out of it because you quit and couldn't see it through. It goes back to that faith that persists even when you don't see a change. Faith that persists even when you don't see a change. Finances, my family, we're real hard on finances right now. We're really trying to work through it to get ourselves financially good. You guys know that Sherry's working a second job. I actually have a second job doing consulting. Every little bit of money that we have, we're putting on our finances because we want to get totally financially free so that we can enjoy life. Will it ever happen? I don't know. But I can't give up hope now that I'm getting close and starting to see a little daylight. I have to make some adjustments. Do I give up hope just because my mother-in-law is battling cancer? I can't do that because, one, she's going to Bible study, which the very first years that I was married to Sherry didn't happen. She's going to Bible study. She's enjoying Bible study. We call her up, hey, what are you doing? I'm in Bible study. I'll call you back later. God is touching lives through storms. So you got to see it through to the end. We got to see Bastrop County through the end. Vicki, we got to see Cross Point Church through to the end. Might be this month, might be next month, might be next year, might be 10 years from now. We don't know. We have to see Cross Point Church through to the end. If it means us meeting every week with 25 people, it means us meeting every week with 25 people. finally got that through my head this week. It finally came to me this week. No matter what struggles I see going on in this church or any other church, I can't be jealous of the other churches that are up to 3 services a day when we know we have people here that are counting on us every Sunday. Still don't know what it looks like, but hey, there's something there. Lastly, you got to shake it off. As you read that story about Paul, when they get on the island, they're on the island, they're talking, they're all around the fire, and out of the fire jumps this snake. Hits Paul and is hanging him by his hands. And everybody's like, man, he's going to die, he's going to die, he's going to die. But he shakes it off. And he goes on. He's like, man, he's a God. He's a God. Sometimes we just have to shake it off. So you can keep on saying it, keep on breathing. You know, if I get bit by a snake, God forbid. If I get bit by a snake, am I just going to sit there and let it? Or am I going to freak out? They say if you get bit by a snake and you start freaking out, you're lessening your chances of survival. Because your blood is pumping in your heart even more. You know? Or if you can shake it off quick enough, you're increasing your chances. Our storms in our life, we just kind of have to shake them off. Yeah, it could be the worst news in the world. You get that phone call from your wife saying, we need to talk. You get that phone call from your school saying, we need to talk about your kids' grades. Or we need to talk about whatever. Sometimes we just say, okay, God, you give it to me. I'm praying for strength. I'll shake it off and I'll keep on going. I'm going to go back to the simple statement is just because we have faith and we're Christians doesn't mean the storms are going to be easy. It doesn't mean we're going to go through life without having storms. But we cannot let the fear of the storm paralyze us from doing what God calls us to do. Men, dads, we can't let the fears of our children growing up. This will get me hard this week too, because you guys know that my oldest daughter's a senior. It's kind of hard to believe, but she's a senior this year. When she graduates, this one over here will be in high school. And I'm getting old. And I'm getting old quick. Blake, you're right behind me, brother. You're right behind me. And Tim, you're right behind him. We can't let the fear of our daughters and our sons growing up in today's society keep us from continually training them in Scripture. Continually encouraging them to share their faith on the dance floor, on the softball field, on the soccer field, in the band hall. Whatever it is that your kid is involved in, you cannot keep from encouraging them to share their faith. Be scared of it. Because if they are, then you, as a parent, you as a dad, are giving up and not sinning. And chances are the storm is not for you, the storm is for them to meet a point where they start going up and passing that next test to go on to the next level. This hit me like a ton of bricks over the last 2 weeks. It has hit me like a ton of bricks, knowing that I have to work on preparing my children. I have to work on preparing my life in this church and being the example that I need to be. Just like you have to work on dealing with your fears, like we all have fears. I have a fear at work every day, am I going to get fired for saying something I shouldn't? Especially when I work with crazy people. And I work in an IT field that if I got fired today, they would have somebody replace me in 2 hours. You work in a field as tight as mine, it's there. But I have to deal with it. I have to continue working towards a goal. So I'm asking you guys to do 5 things. First, you got to see it coming so you don't end up running. Next, you got to see it through. Or you got to remember that God's in the boat with you. He's not there. You're not there by yourself. Okay? You got to see it through. And sometimes you just got to shake it off. You know, there's things in our lives where it's like, why am I really fighting this? Is it important to me, or is it something I should just let go? A lot of times we end up taking the most easy things that we should just let go. And turn to the top. That's all I have for you guys today. I challenge you guys to go watch that video from last week. I'm actually going to be posting a couple more from Life Church on our website as resources. If you guys hear of any more, feel free. One of the things that we talked about doing that we're going to be doing is when there are 5 Sundays in the month, we're going to be showing a video sermon. If there's a video sermon that has touched you in a way that you think needs to be shared with the rest of the congregation, please send it to me so that we can put it in a rotation or something. We've shown Louis Giglio sermons, which I can put you in. I've got another one off of that DVD called Fruitcakes and Cupcakes, where it talks about coming in contact with the most uncommon person you ever think you would ever meet, but they have a purpose in your life. To strengthen you, to grow you, and to encourage you. So you never know. But there's a lot more out there. And so that's something that we're going to be getting used to. And incorporating those things into it. Let's close with a word of prayer, and then we'll be dismissed for the day. Father God, I just thank you for these people that are here today, and I pray that you would bless their families and bless them throughout this week, Lord, and I ask that you would help them to find the inner strength in themselves, Lord, through you beside them, to face the storm that you have, that you've placed them here, that they're being involved in. I pray that you would help them to have courage to know that you're right there beside them. You are their strength. You are their comfort. You are their refuge. Father, I pray that you would help each one of us to see our storms through to the very end, Lord, so that we know that we can survive in certain circumstances, Father. I pray that you would help us to be mindful of our fears, Father, and that we would not be afraid or ashamed to share our faith no matter what situation we're in. Father, we pray for this congregation. We pray for this church, Lord, that you would help us to meet the mission and vision that you have for this church. If it's to grow to 100, to 300, whatever it may be, or stay at 20, Father, help us to fulfill the mission you have with the resources and talents to this body. Help us to be your example this week, Father. In the name of our
Where's that?